Hello friends, and happy Thursday to you. If you're watching this on Thursday, if you're not, then happy day to you. So before I get into Think About It Thursdays, a few things that have just been on my mind. If I ever needed a reason to believe in our bodies and us as beings, being energetic beings, which I didn't need another reason, but this definitely confirms it even more so for me, because I don't know if you guys know what the Schumann resonance is. I feel like most of you probably do if you're watching my channel, but I wasn't even paying attention to it, and I usually do. But yesterday and Tuesday night, I was extremely dizzy. Like, I'm going to fall over dizzy. And no real reason for being dizzy, quite honestly. I mean, spring is coming, so it could have been allergy related, whatever. But honestly, like, no real reason. So then I spent most of the day dizzy yesterday. And then I woke up today and felt completely fine. Absolutely fine. Not a single spell of dizziness, like, today so far. Knock on wood. But I was like, what in the world? So I just happened to look at the Schumann resonance a few hours ago, and yesterday we were in full-on blackout mode, which, if you know anything about the Schumann resonance, usually means that the frequency of the earth is too high to be measured. So, ascension symptoms are real. The floating and moving in the wind feeling, the, you know, need to be grounded. I have some algate with me today because it just felt right. Because I've noticed that if I play with something in my hand, or you know, just move in general while I'm speaking, it's a lot better for me to get out what I'm actually thinking. So, also, moving right along, I was kind of thinking about something today because I had a conversation with a friend that I have not talked to since Levi was born. Like, I have not spoken to her since then, and not for any real reason. It's just kind of like our lives have already gone in different directions and whatnot, and it was just interesting because she calls me today and she's like, girl, where have you been? You disappeared. And I was like thinking, like, I haven't gone anywhere. Like, I'm literally in the same place that I was 2 years ago when you talked to me, in the same house. I have the same phone number, everything. And she was like, where have you been? Like, it's so hard to track you down. And I was like, it just was so confusing to me. And of course, I got something very profound out of it. And that was, I have changed so incredibly in the last 2 years that what she said, like, kind of resonated with me in a different way. And I was like, yeah, like, the me that you used to know has literally disappeared. Like, 1000%. I am not the person that I was 2 years ago when you talked to me, like, at all. And it was kind of like a weird, like, confirmation type of thing from God, universe, source, whatever you want to call it, that I was like, yeah, I have changed a whole lot. And who you used to know has disappeared in a lot of ways. And I love that. I absolutely love it. Anyways, moving right along. I just thought I'd throw that out there because it was just really profound. And it was like the confirmation I never knew I needed. Because, as some of you might know, might not know, my birthday is very soon. And my birthday is always super important to me because, first of all, it's like right around the actual new year. Like, actually, it's like a week after the actual new year, I'm pretty sure. And I always felt like that was hugely significant. And I never felt like my new year started until my birthday, which is kind of true for everyone. But even in a world since, it doesn't actually start over till the spring anyways. We know now. But it just felt very, very confirming and significant that I had that confirmation in a way from a completely unexpected place. So keep your ears tuned, because you might be getting some confirmation soon also. Just a intuition feeling I have. All right, moving right along into it. I'm going to be talking about something that is kind of triggering for a lot of people, I feel like. Maybe not the group that I'm talking to on my channel here, because most of y'all are with it. But it is the education system. And I definitely think, of course, people can get great things from it. Of course, you can learn a lot. But for me, and this whole topic, I'll be speaking, of course, just for me. As a extremely creative person, I had the intuitive feeling, if you will, my entire life that the educational system was stunting my growth, stunting my creativity, and holding me captive, quite honestly. And it's kind of funny because my husband, you know, is attuned to a lot of things, and like things that I would have never expected him to be attuned to because of where he's from. Like legit, witchcraft is blatant and in your face. One time I mentioned water spirits to him, and he's like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Like politicians in Africa will go live underwater with water spirits for a week and get power and money and all kinds of things. So I was like, what? I was like, this is just normal? Like, this is a normal thing that everybody knows in Mozambique? And he's like, yeah. So that's kind of like where my husband's at. Like, it's like some things that I would never expect him to be like attuned to. He's way more attuned than I ever would be. Anyways, so last night we were talking about how, you know, with raising Levi, we really want to be secure in our feeling that we know Levi and we know what is best for him as his parents. Because a lot of times in, especially Southern cultures, and I feel like a lot of cultures, it's like such a thing for the older generation to just assume that the younger generation knows absolutely nothing and are kind of like idiots when it comes to raising children. And there is a level of truth in that in some ways. And we always have more we can learn from older people, of course. But I think it's a two-way street. There's plenty I can learn from people that are older than me, and there's plenty of things that older people can learn from me as a younger person. But we were talking about educating, and I was like, I am totally ready to educate Levi on my own and essentially just give him the tools to survive and thrive as an adult in life, because that's what he's going to be for the rest of his life after he, you know, gets out of his childhood years. You know, like the rest of his life will be an adult. He has like these sacred times of being a child, and I don't want to strip that away from him. And so it was just really amazing because my husband was very on board with that idea. And quite honestly, that hasn't been something that he's been super on board with, because going to school in Mozambique, where he's from, is a huge privilege, and you have to pay for high school, and not a lot of families can afford that. So it was just really nice to know that he was on the same page of you know, me educating Levi and essentially just following Levi's desires, like things that he's interested in, like let him learn those things. I mean, of course, there's like the foundational stuff like reading, writing, and math, but after that, you know, if he's interested in something, just let him get really good at it, you know, and then he can thrive in life. And, you know, if he likes multiple things, then he can look into that. But that's kind of the way that we're going to approach schooling for him. He's only 2, but, you know, it's still good to think about it ahead of time, especially in the current world that we are in. And I'm just so thankful to have a partner that is on the same page like that, because school for me, like I said, was very restrictive. And I felt so restricted just intellectually, physically, you know, being stuck in a classroom all day. I love being outside, love it. As soon as it gets warm enough, I'm outside. I literally have had a tank top and shorts on all morning. We were outside most of the morning. We'll be outside most of the afternoon. It's my thing. And I get creative when it's, you know, the new springtime and whatnot. And I hated being in school on a amazingly beautiful day, because you're so disconnected from nature, and you know, you don't even get to enjoy that day because you get home at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just, anyways, rabbit trail. But I felt so restricted, and especially creatively, because of you know, if you didn't do something a certain way, or you were graded on your creativity, which is just crazy. Like, creativity should never be graded on. But for me, it just felt, I felt like I was just put so far behind attending school. So much so that I actually asked my mom to, for me to do homeschooling in 11th and 12th grade, and I did. And so I could pursue acting at the time. And I loved that, because I literally like had the days to myself, and then I could just do a whole bunch of schoolwork all at once and get it done, and not have to spend 8 hours a day inside a building that had no windows and with people that were all my same age group. But it's just one of those things. It was like, you know, if you think about schooling, when in the world are you ever in a room with people that are all like basically the exact same age as you? Like, that's not realistic life at all. Like, there's so much benefit to being surrounded by people of all different age groups. Like, the social and mental agility that you acquire from interacting with people on all different levels helps you so much more later in life. I mean, I know I feel, for me, that I have a slight advantage, because I feel like for the most part I can relate to people and talk to people where they're at. And that didn't exactly come from school. That came from just being surrounded by a whole different group of people all the time, of all ages, of all beliefs, you know. And this idea that like you have to be around people that are exactly like you, age and everything, is kind of like the issue of today, because it puts this idea in your head that, you know, you can only be around people that are like you, which is just absolute BS, like, and so detrimental to society and us as connected spiritual beings. Like, we were never meant to be alone. We're always meant to be connected to people, and we always were meant to need other people. And it's just this idea of separatism that is just such a big illusion. But school for me was always such a struggle. I was a straight D student, and I am not exactly proud of that, but at the same time, like, I'm kind of glad I didn't really put in the effort to learn the things that were being taught, because as we know now, a lot of those things are very much not true, and are a part of narratives that are not true. And so I always innately knew that something was off about it. Something was just not right about it. So I feel like my children will be probably super connected and have some good intuition like I do, because both me and Johnny do, and it kind of, you know, is one of those things that kind of passed down generationally. But yeah, the education system, like, children learn, and when I talk about the education system, I'm talking about my experience in it, and mostly like, you know, elementary school, high school type of thing. College is a whole different story, because I mean, yeah, just setting people up to be in debt. I went to a trade school in a sense because I went to film school. I didn't actually learn anything that was like educational in the sense of like normal college school. It was all related to acting and filmmaking and directing and cinematography and all that jazz. So I can't really say that I attended college. I attended a trade school. And I would promote that any day, because that's actually like focused on what you're actually interested in. I mean, you've got so many miserable people running around these days, and I think it's just because our heads are filled with all of this crap that we don't even want to know. Like, it doesn't really benefit us or serve us in any real way. It's just funny because like me as a student in my younger years, like, would have never thought that I would get out of school and want to learn things like quantum physics, quantum mechanics. But I got to a place where it actually interested me, and I was happy and excited to learn about it. And that was not me in school at all. But when I got out of school, I felt so free to actually learn the things that I wanted to learn and fill my brain with the things that actually felt like they benefited my life, instead of just information to learn information. And it's really funny because I feel in a lot of ways I'm a lot more successful than a lot of the people that tried really hard in school. And it's even like with my clothing shop. I was showing the lady that did my hair recently my shop, and just kind of telling her about it. And she's like, "Did you go to school for graphic design?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, no, I just put pieces together." And she's like, "Oh, wow, that's so cool." And then she's like, "Did you go to school for business?" I was like, "No, I absolutely did not." But since I've had time not attending a normal college, I have focused on these things and learned these things and learned how to do them, and just played around and let myself mess up, and have just been able to grow along the way. And she was like, "Wow, that's really cool," you know? I was like, "Yeah, like I went to school for acting, technically, and filmmaking. And that doesn't really relate to anything I'm doing, except now with YouTube and TikTok. You know, it's serving me in a way, it actually is. But the main way that I make money with my clothing line is absolutely nothing I ever did in a college." So I just think that speaks volumes. And I just feel like there's a whole group of people that believe that you have to like have everything put together before you try something, and you absolutely do not. Like, some of the most beautiful things happen by accident, and you know, they happen for those people because they were willing to try, and they were willing to put themselves out there and make mistakes and learn as they go. So I've had to essentially deprogram myself in that way, and tell myself that it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to change and evolve and grow in front of people, and not be so ashamed of the growth. Because I am not under any impression that I have it all together, and I know all these things, and I'm this super connected spiritual person. Like, I'm an everyday kind of person, and there's no reason to even have the illusion that I'm not that at this point, quite honestly. So, yeah, it's just one of those things that, like, if you didn't learn it in school, it's never too late. It's never too late to learn. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to get a degree. You don't have to do any of those things. If anything, those things just kind of are more detrimental than good, because creative systems and the world and technology is constantly changing and constantly moving. And if you cannot tie yourself down to one way of doing something, then you'll be set for life. It's just like keeping an open mind. I'm trying to learn about the world of NFTs and figuring that whole thing out. So if anybody knows about it, let me know in the comments and let's have a chat, because I'm very interested in learning. But yeah, so it's never too late to learn something new, and don't hold yourself back and put yourself in a prison just because you didn't learn it in school or go to college for it, because at least you're not in debt. Let's be real, that's on this list too. So I think that's all I want to say about this. And I think the education system is going to look very different in the future, and I'm excited for that. And I'm even excited to be a part of that in some way, if I can be, even if it's just educating my children differently. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And yeah, that's all. Bye.